Are you an audio nerd?
Nerd!
Do you expect the best out of any audio at any cost? Does the term MP3 make you throw up in your mouth a little bit? Do you own a DVD audio player? I may have some gold-plated speaker wire you might like. But that's not why we're here. Today we're talking about high-end DACs and headphone amps for the wine-sniffing audiophiles that can hear all the frequencies of a flea's fart. Pretty sure Ifi Studio didn't expect that intro when they sent me their gear. Sorry. And yes, they did send me this for a review style video, but as with everything, that doesn't stop me. For the sake of this video, we're gonna make this a bit of an unboxing because I'm still struggling with how to present these things for performance, but yeah, let's get into it. Anyways, today we have the Zen 1 Studio Universal DAC, or Digital Analog Converter, and the Zen Can Studio Headphone Amp. Now, if you're from North America, the name Ifi Studio might not be familiar unless you're one of those audio nerds we were talking about earlier. So before we get into what and why these are, let's take a look at what they offer. And let's start with the DAC, which is basically the audio interface for your computer or even as an attachment to your already existing setup that has SPDIF connectivity. Let's walk around the unit here, starting at the back. You have all the inputs, including USB, SPDIF, and antenna for Bluetooth, as well as the XLR and 4.4mm output, which is kind of the first sign this thing is for audiophiles. Those 4.4mm jacks are wired a bit different. Let me know if you guys want that fleshed out for you, but this video is already going to be a bit dry. Then on the front of the unit, we have the power button, an input selector, a display LED, a button for that display and pairing button for Bluetooth, as well as a display for the audio format and sample rate. And that whole audio format and sample rate should tell you from there, well, this thing kind of teases all kinds of things like DSD-256 and 384 kilohertz PCM support. Frankly, all the codecs you can think of are included here. Now, I know some of you are lost, but there's a select few of you wishing you didn't wear jogging pants to sex ed. We see you. Now, I'm not going to go into full detail on what all those things are like codecs, but suffice to say, we're talking about higher resolution forms of audio. Kind of lossless in the extreme. And while a great deal of you roll your eyes, there is something to be said about this kind of converter for people who do high-end audio editing as well as mixing and mastering. Not to mention all the audiophiles that are listening to all the extra frequencies on the Rumors album, which is the best DVD audio album out there. Fight me. So, while this might not be the go-to for your Minecraft playthroughs, it definitely does have its place. But then, I can just hear you. So what? Well, this thing actually has a couple surprises up its sleeve, and, well, it's really one big thing, and that is Bluetooth. And no, this isn't your granddaddy's Bluetooth. This is Bluetooth HD, basically allowing for 24-bit and 96 kilohertz resolution over Bluetooth, which is kind of insane. Now, if you didn't know, Bluetooth offers up some pretty bad audio from a purist's perspective. Now, there are several different codecs used for Bluetooth, the most popular being SBC, which is also one of the worst at compression. Then you have AAC used by Apple for their music and Bluetooth connectivity, which does allow for no audio loss over the airwaves, though the initial compression is still compression. Though in a nod to Apple, out of all of the lossy formats, AAC is the best, easily beating out the lowly MP3. But then you have aptX, which is a Qualcomm tech and allows for CD-like quality over Bluetooth. Cool, but again, we're talking about purists who spit on your CD-like. But in the past few years, Qualcomm has really been blowing up what their codecs can do with aptX low latency, aptX adaptive, and aptX lossless, which is where this thing kind of sits. But it also serves LHDC, which is just next generation Bluetooth. All that to say, this thing does up to 24-bit and 96 kilohertz audio over Bluetooth. And for those of you that are wearing those jogging pants, I'm sorry, you can leave class early. Now, there are a few things to mention here. First off, for all of this to work, both ends of the Bluetooth chain need to be able to support the codecs we mentioned. Yes, this is backwards compatible, meaning it will work all the other lower quality codecs. And while support for these codecs are becoming more and more common, it's not universal yet, especially on cell phones. Most Androids support aptX HD, which is up to 48 kilohertz. But forget about iPhone, they're still stuck on their AAC. So this might be a feature that you're waiting on to take full advantage of. But I mean, future-proofing in the audio sphere is never a bad idea. But the next feature is part of the reason why it hasn't been implemented across the board, because it generally takes some exceptional processing power to do this kind of stuff. And this thing comes with a 16-core XMOS processor, which is pretty powerful. So all that encoding and decoding is an absolute cinch. And to finish this all off, yes, this is a one-way interface for your computer. There is no mic input. But then I hear you asking, well, what's this second thing for? Well, if you're an audiophile, you know that in order to drive your headphones, especially those ridiculously expensive ones, well, you need a decent headphone amp. Well, that's what this is. This thing boasts some super sweet preamps on the outputs for a pretty quiet listening experience. And I do love the frequency response on this. 10 Hz to 100 kHz, meaning this is a perfect gift for your dog. But this thing hits all of the other marks, including the balanced 4.4mm jacks, as well as the XLR to 4.4mm jacks, which means all the audiophiles' ears just perked up there. Now, obviously, this thing will be outputting enough to satisfy almost any kind of headphone you can imagine, and it even offers a multi-level gain to suit all kinds of cans as well. Oh, and this analog volume control is just so buttery smooth. It's so nice. But there's a bit of an issue when I run into reviewing this kind of stuff. You see, they're easy enough to review, but it's really difficult to show you the performance of this. It feels good in the hands, I guess. Also, while I do love my lossless audio and my high-resolution audio, I'm not a wine-sniffing audiophile. So far, I really like these, and I'm going to link them down below. But for the next little while, I'm going to stash these on Dylan's setup. And we're going to revisit these in a future video, one where Dylan can break down his thoughts on what these can do. Now, what do you think, though? Was this a little too much? Either the information overload or the sweatpants jokes? Let me know down below. Cheers, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.